10 years ago when you took this job. I remember being in this building, in the team meeting room, when you walked in for the first team meeting as the head coach of Penn State. I remember like it was yesterday. What was going through your mind when you walked in that door?
Yeah, a couple things. I mean, first of all, excitement. Growing up in the state of Pennsylvania, playing football in the state of Pennsylvania. I came to camp at Penn State when they used to have those huge camps over in the IM fields. And so it was kind of like surreal. I never really thought that Penn State was a realistic option. I always thought it would stay kind of in the family, someone connected closely with the program. So when this happened, it was surreal in a lot of ways. And although I love Vanderbilt and had a great experience there, I knew I was going to have to leave at some point, and then you hope you're leaving for a job like Penn State. Yeah. So it was surreal, but I would also say I didn't really know what I was walking into, because with the sanctions and all those types of things, I didn't really understand a lot of the details. And a lot of the details now may not seem as big of a deal, like being able to transfer and keep your scholarship and play right away, because now with the transfer portal, that's no big deal. Yeah. But back then, it was crazy. I remember we only had 5 scholarship offensive linemen, which
bad.
People that understand football, they're like 5. So it was excitement, but it was also, concern about really what am I walking myself into.
What was maybe the one thing that surprised you the most when you got here? You had the expectation or the thing that you said, we have to change this right away.
Well, I think the first thing, the surprise was things that I found out about the sanctions that they didn't tell me during the interview process.
They downplayed that a little bit.
Yeah, like that we had 3 players walking around on campus still on football scholarship that I couldn't replace. Just some crazy things like that. I don't even think I knew about the game in Ireland. Like my first game is Dublin, Ireland. I'm like, can we just have a game like, in state college or at least somewhere in the United States? But I guess when I got here, I was shocked at how far behind the facilities were. Technology was. The bones were phenomenal, but I was kind of shocked about things like that. I just that was surprising to me. And then I think the other thing was the players. The players themselves kind of had a wall up, because I think if I remember correctly, I was like the 5th head coach in like 27 months if you count interim head coaches and all those types of things. So the players were really tight after going through a ton of adversity, as you know. But it was almost like, okay, here's another head coach that's standing up in front of us, and there was a trust that had to be established with them that was harder to do than when I first went to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt had no success. So like literally as soon as they saw that I cared and I had a plan, they were all in. They were all in. And at Penn State, because we'd never really hit rock bottom.
If you want to take control of your health, try Athletic Greens AG1 today and get 5 free travel packs and a 1-year supply of vitamin D free when you use my link, drinkag1.com/nextup.
And there'd been so much turnover after no turnover for 50 years. There was a wall buildup that needed to be kind of broken down.
Yeah, and that's the next thing I wanted to ask you about. I've said this a lot. I remember talking to you about it when during those 2 years I was hurt and I would talk to you in your office a lot. You walked into a situation that may be the most complex that any head coach has ever walked into in the history of college football. And that's a big statement, but it was as complex as it comes with sanctions, with the players. You mentioned it. I remember the locker room. Even a lot of those guys came there to play for Bill O'Brien, and then he leaves, and you got the wall was up in the locker room, and you had to come tear it down. So 2-part question. 1, was there ever a moment when you were like, what the hell did I just walk into? And number 2, how did you go about tearing that wall down? Because I think it happened relatively quickly.
Well, it didn't feel like it happened relatively quickly. But yeah, I think there was a moment I'm like, this is more significant and more challenging than I realized. Weren't able to go to a bowl in year one. We find out halfway through the year that we're going to be able to go. I think we had 56 scholarship players, 5 scholarship offensive linemen. Players could quit and leave and transfer with immediate eligibility. Players could quit and keep their scholarship and stay. There was really a divide on campus and in the community still over what had happened. So it was more challenging, than I realized. But there was still a really good nucleus. And then the other thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is me and Billy O'Brien were pretty close. We were on the same staff at the University of Maryland, so I was able to talk to him probably about 10 times before taking the job to kind of have an understanding of what I was walking into in terms of the players and things like that. But a complicated place at a complicated time, there's no doubt about it.
This place, too, has so much history and tradition, and for a long time before you got here, it had one way they were doing it for a long time, and it was a lot of people felt like they knew how this program should be run. Then you walk in here, and you have to balance. You have your way that works, right? You have the model. You did it at Vanderbilt, but you also have to balance the tradition and history of this place that had the same head coach for so long and has all that. How did you go about navigating that with the community, with just the complexities and the tradition this place has?
Yeah, this place is change averse, right? Yeah. Like it has been for a long time. Right. But I think a lot of places that have a deep tradition, of history and success. There are a lot of places that are like that, right? So I think that's one of the things that I think we did a pretty good job of early on is how do you pay respect to the past and the history, but still move the program forward and make it more of a current, college football program and model that has a chance to thrive and be successful. That was a battle. The facilities were a battle. I remember when I first am, complaining or talking or trying to kind of get people all on board that we need to update the facilities.
Why?
And people are like, why? And the interesting thing is, it's funny. It depends on who's telling the story, right? When Penn State built this facility, it was the nicest building in all of football, college or the NFL, and people came from all over the country to study it and see it. But over time, that kind of had been lost. There was a period where Penn State kind of had the best of everything, and we needed to get back to that. So it was challenging and it was surprising.